allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kim, go ahead and call the meeting to order. First thing on our agenda today is the consent agenda. It's the minutes from our previous meeting.
Also move.
Second.
Tim, are we doing this first?
She is third on our agenda.
Okay, it's at 10 a.m., so just wondered. Okay.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next up, we have Ms. Brenda Mainwaring, President and CEO of the Iowa West Foundation. An update and discussion of grant awards for Cycle 3. Ms. Mainwaring, you're up.
Good morning.
Morning.
You should have in your packet, and perhaps you saw in the newspaper over the weekend, our final cycle for this year. It's another 3.9 million, 20 nonprofits throughout Southwest Iowa. I said it last time, and we continue to try to focus on what we heard during those community Imagine Hours, and the single thing that we heard over and over again was the need for housing across a whole continuum. And so about $1 million of what we've expended this year is for housing, including in rural areas. We have several grants in rural communities: Elkhorn, Glenwood, Harlan, Macedonia, Minden, and Oakland. In particular, I would point out the grant to Advance Southwest Iowa. We've been super happy with that partnership. I think that what we've seen with the rural Pot County infrastructure is something we want to pursue. You all know that we've had the cities program for a very long time, but cities, every program needs to be kind of looked at and reconsidered. And so as we discussed last time, we're looking at that and thinking that what we did with Paula and her team may be something we want to look at. So we continue to work with them. City of Oakland to help them do some residential land acquisition. When we did the study for rural housing, the item that came up the most was that there wasn't enough land, and it was very difficult to acquire land adjacent to the communities because they tended to be ag. And so when it comes up, we want to help the communities acquire that. And so that's what we did in Oakland. Golden Hills has a new project that they are implementing. It actually exists in Canada, and it's a conservation program that works very closely with farmers to provide them with another path other than sort of the slow path that tends to be federal projects to start getting some conservation land set aside if the farmers want to do that. It's entirely driven by the farmers, but Golden Hills is going to be assisting with that, and so we've provided some money to help them staff that. Macedonia is one of the participants in Heart and Soul, which is an organization that really tries to engage the whole community and starting them thinking about how they can help build up their community. And so we're helping to support the coordinator position. You'll see Minden Little League field lights, and in the fire and rescue, the power load system for ambulance cots, as those small crews in the rural communities can't always get those heavy cots up into the ambulance, and so there's support for that. Working with Matt Wyan and his team with Iowa Western on the sex health treatment and prevention services to kind of move that more securely into Matt Wyan's operation. And those are sort of the highlights for the county this year. Any questions about any of those awards?
What are they doing with the farm set aside?
It's really just a very early program that takes another approach that helps farmers as they want to. There are all sorts of federal systems, as all of you know, that are focused on conservation. We very specifically do not want to get in the way of any of those federal programs. But they have a long wait sometimes, and so this is another project that was brought in by, it's not Farm Bureau, and I'm not going to, it is a statewide farming organization that said they would like to try this Canadian system, and so Pot County, Golden Hills will be sort of a test case to see whether it's of interest to our ag professionals here. But it's just another way to do some conservation.
That's good. Okay.
Brenda,
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Scotty.
I was just gonna tell her thank you for what they do for our communities in Pot County and such. We appreciate all of that. And then the next grant cycle starts January 1.
The letter of intent is due by January 1st, and then the grant application is due by January 15th, with awards made in March or April.
Okay, the other one, the Iowa Western, what's the Mid-American Gaming Expo?
So, pre-COVID, Iowa West Foundation decided we wanted to see if we could get an event going on at the Mid-America Center that would really appeal to a younger generation. And of course, gaming is the way we started that. It got interrupted several times with COVID, obviously, but we held the event at our expense in September of '21. And it was very successful. It brought in some folks from outside. At the same time, Iowa Western and some of the high schools are developing gaming teams as part of their sports and extracurricular. So we shifted that over to Iowa Western so they could get a more collegiate and high school focus on those gaming. So it's not just, sort of random people who want to attend, but it's very focused on getting teams here and developing that as a sport opportunity. So we're supporting their efforts to get that up off the ground.
Oh, good. Good.
But it's not gambling.
No, different kind of gaming.
Yeah. You don't want people to get confused.
Couple questions, Brenda, if you would. On the Togethers, the acquisition, a permanent location for that food pantry, is that a combination of all of them, or is this
No.
a new one?
So, one of the things we learned during COVID is that church-based food pantries can't serve all the need. For one thing, it tends to be elderly volunteers, and they didn't volunteer during COVID, which we all know was a time of very high need. So we worked with Together Inc., which is an Omaha-based organization, very successful in Omaha, to bring in what we call a choice pantry. People actually, they go in and they get, they have consultation services to say, what are your challenges and what kind of services do you need? And in addition to that, once they've checked in with the counselor, then they can go and literally take a shopping cart and pick out what they want. So they don't have as much waste with things that they don't want to or cannot eat. We set that up with the assumption that this year they would serve about 10,000 people. As of last month, they have served 40,000 people.
Oh, wow.
Now, one of the interesting things that has happened is, those church-based programs, they're in your neighborhood. And if you're not in the neighborhood or you're not a member of the church, I think there's a lot of reluctance to participate. What we've seen when we opened this one is a lot of county participants driving in because they feel like it's for them, not just for people who go to the church or go to the community. So we've seen a huge uptick. We need that to make that permanent. We're working with another donor to find the right location. It probably will be a new building along with some other services that would be in that building, but we're trying to sort through that. We've just allocated the funds knowing that we're going to need to get that permanent structure built. Right now it's down by Salvation Army on about, 34th and Broadway, in a leased building.
Is that the Together Inc., 200,000 for the?
That's just for food. And that's more than we had anticipated just because of the volume of business that they're doing. And with the uncertain economy, we anticipate that we're not going to see a downward trend in need.
So they'll have an outreach program to make sure that the people outside the city limits of Council Bluffs are notified?
Whatever they're doing seems to be working.
I shouldn't ask you that. I should ask them that.
Well, I don't know what their program is, but they are getting 4x what we anticipated. And we know that we're getting more county participants as well. So we're serving some of that need.
Brenda, do you think they're also going to the other food banks?
The church-based or other?
Yeah, others out there?
Yes, and we also last cycle gave support to the Food Bank of Iowa, which has county-based outreach programs in some of the, not so much Pot County, but some of the other rural communities. We all know there's need out in the rural communities. There's just a lot less access and a real resistance to asking for help sometimes. So we want to make it easy.
Okay.
Their tenant down there now then down there on
Yes.
Broadway.
Yep.
Have they been there quite a while?
They've been there, I'm gonna say, going on 18 months.
Oh, okay. Fairly recent then.
Yeah.
Is that the old shoe shop?
No, it's the backside of that. It's like
Yeah,
Octo
they're
Farm.
probably
Okay.
where the
Okay.
baseball guy was or whatever,
Yeah,
behind the plasma place.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
The other question I had was the Minden and the Oakland grants, did that come from the city's program?
No,
Okay.
that's additional funds.
Okay. I would assume that the Oakland grant was for that new residential development they're working out by the golf
Yep.
course.
And that's actually a loan, and not to get into the weeds, but we want to recycle that, you know, for where we're trying to help build new housing where you anticipate that there's going to be private purchase. The city is purchasing it. I think they're bonding for it. I don't have the details, but when they sell those units into private development, they pay us back so that we can use those funds again for Macedonia or someplace else that has the opportunity to acquire property.
It'll stay in the small towns.
We will continue to support the small towns. We're not allocating it that, we don't want to restrict it, because then
Okay.
if we don't have a way to spend it, it just sits there, so. But I think you can see we're pretty committed, I'm pretty committed to making sure we're serving rural interest.
Good.
On
I like hearing
that, on the Minden ball field lights, was that part of your request to?
It
No.
wasn't part of mine, but.
But you appreciate it anyway, right?
I'm the mayor of Minden, but that was, it's a nonprofit that runs that.
They were in pretty bad shape, I think.
They're really bad shape.
Are these all new lights out there? Or
They
just,
So,
They haven't done anything yet.
right, I think it will be, yeah.
Okay, no more questions, Brenda, thank.
Yeah, last
You
thing,
for all you do.
and I think you all know we've been working with the Imagine Hours. We're sort of a precursor to talking about what should we be doing to meet community needs. So we had a year-long adventure on the board thinking about strategic visioning, and I will be back in probably January to tell you where we're gonna be heading. We're trying to be a little less structured in saying you have to fit in these buckets, and a little bit more focused on what is the outcome that the community thinks is important, housing being a good example. So you will see me again probably in January to tell you what's new.
Those buckets you guys refer to those as your.
Economic development,
Your initiatives.
placemaking, education, healthy families.
Okay.
We won't change our mission very much, we'll just change the way that we think about what we should be funding. Not so much does it fit into our idea of what's important, but does it fit into the community's idea of what's important?
Are you anticipating to be able to distribute a similar amount of money for the years coming forward then?
Yeah, are you asking me about gaming?
Well, somewhat.
Yeah, yes, I think so. You know that Council Bluffs Pot County is unique because of the way we have our structure. We have a large corpus because of the sale of Bluffs Run so very many years ago, and because we were able to set up a foundation that could hold it. That's not the way all of the other sponsoring organizations for casinos across the state work. They have to distribute at least 3% of the adjusted gross revenue, so most of their assets every single year by statute have to be distributed. Because we have such a large amount of assets, not so much as before the stock market started to go down, but we have a large amount of assets. Our community, will continue to be able to enjoy grants, probably in the $15 million a year range. And the board is very committed to only spending such that we are here as a permanent asset for the community.
Okay, great.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brenda. Really appreciate that.
Any other questions for Brenda? Brenda, again, thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Christine Sorensen, Director of the Western Iowa Development Association. Discussion decision to approve funding in the amount of $50,000 for fiscal year 22-23. Christine, you're up.
Thank you for having me here today. Thank you, Mitch. I'm here today, actually, it was kind of a twofold request to come in and request a check that was approved for this fiscal year and then also ask for funding for the following fiscal year. I was just trying to kill two birds with one stone when I emailed Jeanette. So, as far as what WIDA is doing out in the communities, since we switched missions and visions back in 1998 and reestablished as more of a business association, Rural Chamber of Commerce. Mission and vision basically provide leadership to the community members to promote economic development and expand and grow the area's economic base while increasing wealth and improving quality of life. Our bigger vision, obviously, is to make sure that we're coordinating rural cities, businesses, schools, nonprofit, community organizations, and residents by being a hub of resources and communication between our communities. So when I came in last year, obviously my biggest focus was on ensuring that our communities had a place that they could come to get their events, their businesses, anything going on in the communities as far as nonprofit events out in the public eye to draw people into those communities to improve economic development. And while our mission and vision have stayed the same since 1998, our communities are obviously changing. We're growing in population, we're getting more events out there, we're getting new businesses out there, and so it's imperative that WIDA remain out there as that central hub of communication for our communities and businesses. Mitch, thank you. So in the last year, we have gained a lot of growth, actually. When I came in, our Facebook followers were at 916. We are just short of 1,900 as of today. So we have had exponential growth in our followings on Facebook and social media. Surprisingly, while Facebook is usually the dominant social media platform, our Instagram page has grown in leaps and bounds. And reasoning behind that is when I came in, a lot of people don't like seeing the same content in Facebook and Instagram. So I kind of switched the Instagram page around since I was working in collaboration with the Potawatomi County Tourism Committee and have been utilizing the Instagram page to highlight specific items, specific businesses, recreation opportunities, our parks, places, sites to go see when you come to Iowa. So our reach has grown, like I said, exponentially as far as Instagram is concerned. Newsletter subscribers, they waver. Some people see our newsletter as spam sometimes. They don't get it. It's unfortunate. It goes out in large quantity, and so that just happens, unfortunately. But we are gradually increasing a little bit with newsletter subscribers. And then new memberships are also increasing. That's one area I'd like to see a little bit more growth in. But that also means I'm going to have to be out in the communities more often, meeting people, getting into the meetings, and seeing how I can assist our businesses out in the rural communities a little bit more. So, Mitch, thank you. So what's next for 2023? Our new website is actually slated to come out by the beginning of 2023. The new platform is a lot more user-friendly. It's modern. It's going to have a membership directory so that you can go in and see all the businesses out there directly on a map. I've been working with Heartland Photos here in Council Bluffs, and they've been doing an amazing job getting us a little bit more up-to-date, a little bit more user-friendly. They're adding a lot of features in there that are going to be really beneficial for our residents, our communities, as well as Potawatomi County as a whole. We're going to be adding a little bit more high value to our memberships. Obviously, our members are the key to our success. We have to have members to survive, and that's essentially what we're here for, to provide them with the advertising, the promotion, the visibility that they need out in the rural communities to survive. So we thrive together, essentially. Networking opportunities is one thing I've been wanting to do. I've just been so overwhelmed with my current job. The current things that I'm working on. But networking opportunities is one thing I really want to key in on 2023. Having roundtable events for our rural communities, our businesses, seminars if necessary to bring some speakers out there to help our businesses thrive. And then as far as sustainability, we just really want to ensure that we are stressing the buy local, shop local, stay local, play local to all of our communities in Potawatomi County. Obviously not just our rural, but also here as well, and you guys know that. That's how we all thrive as a community and as a county. And so making sure that we can thrive as a whole, basically. So in closing, again, I just want to stress the point that, WIDA represents essentially 1/3 of the population of this county. We are an important voice. We've been an important voice for many, many years. We've been a great resource hub of information for our business associations and our communities as a whole. So again, I'm here to ask for funding for the upcoming fiscal year. Obviously, you are Potawatomi County. You serve Potawatomi County, and we want to make sure that we can represent those communities as best as possible. So again, I'm here to ask for that check that was already approved for this fiscal year, and then request $70,000 for the upcoming fiscal year. I know this is an increase, but again, as our communities are increasing in population, there's more room for growth out there, and WIDA is going to grow right along with them. You have any questions?
What prompted $20,000 increase? Like what?
Well, with that funding, essentially you're getting a Royal Chamber of Commerce office, you're getting that hub of resources, you're getting an executive director, you're getting a bookkeeper, we've got mileage, we've got the new website. I'm trying to think of everything that's going into that.
Well, I'll ask you another question along with this, maybe it'll help you clarify. I guess, are you asking more of your members as well, or are we the only
Yes,
member?
actually we are. Yes.
So what's your total goal with what's your total goal, I guess, of what you're trying to accomplish between members and us? I mean, you're asking 20,000 from us, but how much more are you asking from the other folks? What are you trying to, what's your total budget trying to become?
We didn't talk about that in the meeting.
Well, if you're trying to ask, Justin, and I think I know where you're going to, it's the $50,000, and Brian and Lynn sitting in the meetings can know that as we look at the financial bottom line, we know that 50,000 is probably not, as we were looking at, sustainable budget. So we were looking at how the budget and what the expenses were. A lot of things have been trimmed off that budget, including a move from the RC&D. So a lot of that has been taken away, but to sustain the budget that we already have, we were looking at an increase to not only the members, but also to the Pot County, knowing that you will do in the budget time what you need to do. But if we don't start looking at the increase, and you're asking what with the overall number, those budget numbers are now just being put into. Last meeting we had, we looked at those high-value memberships. We're changing the membership structure even. So, to sit there and look at the total picture, we're going to see what does that mean on each individual membership, and then look at the budget. What is it we can do? Christine mentioned, webinar seminars and things of that nature to increase the value of what we can put to the membership. Because right now you're looking at the memberships as a group, and what are they getting for a $100 membership versus a $1,000 membership? So those are the kind of things that will go into the budget to look at for the next fiscal year. And so this would be probably step one of maybe a 10-step process. And without having you probably could get it tomorrow, but if you want, without seeing the existing budget, you really can't answer those.
We're going into a year with no growth. We know that already. And so my concern with adding more money to any entity really it's not just necessarily yours. I want to make sure that there's value there, and that I don't want to call it ROI, but we want to make sure that the money's being spent in such a way that is going to benefit us to justify that expense. 20,000 has me very hesitant, I'll be honest with you. When we start thinking about all the different groups that are out there, we've got Advanced Southwest Iowa, we've got Golden Hills RC&D, we've got tourism groups, we've got all these different entities that we're putting money at, and everyone has different goals, but then again, they have some goals that overlap, and I just want to make sure that if we're adding that kind of money to something that, I'm just a little hesitant on it right now. I mean, personally, I feel a little more comfortable sitting down, going over the budget a little more with finance people and making sure we're okay. I mean, I'm not saying no at all. I think WIDA is very important, and I'm glad we have it. I just think that we need to, I wanna make sure we can afford it, you know? I guess that's the bigger thing. I'm off, I could say yes right now, and I'm off, and good luck, guys, next year, you know? I don't wanna do that to them, and I wanna make sure before I approve something like that, that we can handle it. So, that's just me.
Yeah, I would just tag on with some of the things that Supervisor Schultz said. You know, we are in the process right now of starting our budgets for next year, and we're not promising anything to anybody. At least, I'm not aware that we are. Justin touched on the budget. What is the budget? I mean, you're asking for a 40% increase in the county's obligation. Are the cities and your other partners going up 40% as well?
Members,
Or members, your members going up 40% too? The cities contribute too. Are they going up 40%?
I don't think we discussed the actual cities part of it too. And, you know, of course, I would have that same, and I know Kevin would too. I mean, we go back to our councils and we told Christine and and Lynn was at the meeting, in the last meeting, that city councils are gonna look at the same question you just asked. So if you didn't ask the question, Justin, I would be a little bit, I would say it's your fiscal responsibility to ask, you know, the questions on that. Doesn't mean that we still don't think that the value and what we talked about of the increase, coming back to Pot County, isn't there. We believe it is there, and we believe that, like a toolbox, you mentioned Advanced Southwest Iowa and all the others, the smaller rural communities are looking at these toolbox for resources. So whether we're a hammer or, you know, we're a pair of pliers in that toolbox to use, we know WIDA is very much needed to become that weave throughout all the rural communities to talk about everything that's going on, market the area, market the growth. So that is kind of where we're looking at a lot of the development coming up. And we're right in the middle of that budget time too. I mean, so you're asking, I don't have the current budget, Christine does, and she can send it to you. It probably would be one thing you'd want to look at.
And our city memberships do go up. They're based on per capita rates, so as population increases, those rates do go up for the cities.
Your ask today was for 50,000 that we've already approved. I guess, I don't know that we need to do anything because we've already approved that. So we just need to cut you a check. Is that really?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so like just me, just speaking out
Well,
loud.
you
to
gotta
everyone.
send us an invoice.
Well, yeah.
I did.
Here.
Okay.
I already
No,
sent it to
right,
Jeanette.
No, I know, but did one, that's the first time we got one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm very comfortable approving what we've already said we do. I'm not overly comfortable to increase it for next fiscal year yet. So I think I just asked the board to hit the pause button on that. I guess, do you have a timeline you need to know by a
No.
certain date?
No,
So I would just ask this board to just hold off on the additional 20,000 until we know whether or not that's something in our cards. And then if we decide it's good to go, we'll make it happen. I don't think there's a board member up here that doesn't support WIDA. I mean, I just let that be known. I don't want to overcommit. I'm being honest with you guys. Our next year, our budget is not this great thing right now.
that's understandable.
We
I
got a lot
appreciate your
of-
consideration.
At one point too, Christine, and this was probably 2 or 3 years ago, there was a cash reserve in WIDA. Is there still a cash reserve in WIDA?
We do have a small cash reserve, obviously. We prefer to keep it for emergency situations, but we do have a small cash reserve.
At that point, it was determined those were county funds. Is that right, Scott? At that time?
I would guess, I don't know that for a fact that they were our funds, because they don't separate our funds from the membership funds, I don't believe.
Yeah, you know, the budget where you're sitting on your cash reserve, the increase in your partners and your cities, kind of give us a little better view of where we're at or where you want to go or where you're heading. And I think it's something that the new board will consider when we start putting our budget together and finishing up in March.
Have you been going out to the communities to let them know that you guys are looking at doing some fee restructuring?
Once the website's out, January 1st, I'm hitting the road. I'm
Okay.
hitting all the meetings, I'm going out to the communities to talk to everyone about what we have to offer and, yep.
Well, Underwood must have had something on their agenda already, and they sent us it was an email yesterday, I think. They voted not to continue to support WIDA. Is there a reason for that?
From what I heard from Cindy, WIDA, for some reason, trying to think of the most politically correct way to say this.
You know, maybe that's something that,
WIDA liked WIDA better when WIDA was serving as bringing businesses to their towns. So I think they're still maybe under the wrong impression of what WIDA's role is versus what Advanced Southwest Iowa's role is. And so that's the other reason why I really need to get out to the communities to ensure that people know what our role is
Message. Yep.
versus the other entities out there. And that's something that maybe, you know, all of our nonprofits should get together and maybe discuss as a whole to make sure that we're all working together in our rural communities, to make sure that there's no overlap, to make sure that we're all working together as a team to support our rural communities as a whole.
Okay. Because they were always pretty active on the board.
They were.
Yeah.
Denny was very active.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got, yes. Several phone calls from that man about WIDA.
okay.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Yeah, the 50,000, I mean, consider it done.
Yep, I appreciate it.
We'll
Mr.
handle
Chairman, could I ask a question, a quick one? We've got Craig Carlson here, who is our public relations manager, trying to social media, spread the word about all the good that these guys do and the rest of the county. Do you recognize their contribution on your website? Do you recognize and highlight Potawatomi County Board of Supervisors as one of your contributors? Put our logo on your website.
Oh, yeah,
I
you
can do
wouldn't
that.
have our new logo yet, so.
Well.
No, actually, it is on there. It is on there. When it came out, I put it on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I mean, it's just a
When the
collaboration between
yes.
the
When
people
the
where we.
Potawatomi County Tourism Committee joined as a member, I broke down all the entities within that group and put them all on the website.
Okay.
So everyone's represented on there equally.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in, you guys.
You're not at RC&D Golden Hills anymore?
No, Golden Hills RCD, they received a large amount of funding, so they hired 3 new employees. And so they essentially needed the space that I was taking up in there. So we kind of had a quick move. We are located temporarily in Neola
Okay.
until we can find a little bit more permanent location.
So you're in Neola now.
Yes,
Where are you holding your meetings at then?
I am going to the cities. I'm just calling cities and seeing if they can offer me space and kind of
Okay.
moving around in the
One of
rural
the community
communities.
I
buildings
think
or
that's
whatever?
good, though.
Yes, it
You're
is.
looking at the first 2 of this new move, and the first one was in Minden, and the second one was in Trainer. So
Okay,
Yes.
then
Okay.
we'll grow from there.
okay, thank you.
I think the next one's in, Walnut.
Yeah, we discussed Walnut next.
So, I mean, if that's what we're doing, I mean, it's working out
That
good.
makes sense.
And we get some more community involvement
Yep.
in the
Mhm.
meetings.
Great,
So,
thank you.
thanks for your time.
Thanks, you
Yeah,
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be safe.
All right, next up, we have Linda Swoley, Tax and Deed Specialist, Auditor's Office, discussion decision to set commissioner's rate for the new levy district. Linda, you're up.
Okay, the engineer, John Rosengreen, is asking for a set of commissioners rate, and he recommended, most of them are 200 per day for a commissioner's rate off of his recommendation.
Linda, shouldn't Harrison County take lead on this and decide that, or are they pushing
They
it
said
towards
that
us?
we're in the lead because,
No, they said, but we haven't been.
yeah,
And after the end of that last meeting, they were going, well, you should be in the lead.
Did the engineer,
Hold on, Melvin. Go ahead, Brian.
And it just, when we left there, it was like, they were kind of saying it on the way out the door, you're in the lead. There wasn't any motion made or anything of that by the commission, you know what I mean? I just wonder,
what I've been informed is because most of the parcels are in Potawatomi, is that why we're now in the lead? Is what I've been informed.
Well, I kind of,
in the new levy district, there is more parcels in Pot County than Harrison.
they've,
Well, there's, yeah, more landowners to tax. Got it. Here's the thing,
There's still not a new levy.
it's real easy for the board,
Correct.
Pot County Board to make this call and say, yep, let's roll with it. And then it's real easy for Harrison County to point back and tell us that well, Pot County made that decision. I don't,
We don't have the money or
no.
the books.
Yeah, exactly.
The books or any of that
I'm
stuff.
not
Not yet.
doing anything, to be honest with
Maybe
you.
not yet.
well, has it been formed?
Well,
No.
they.
We just started the
The
process.
flood fund gave, Harrison County, from what was indicated at that meeting.
20 million. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the 2.6.
We had 2.3 or 2.4 from before, and they gave us 20 million now. So,
Not us.
the new levy district, or not the new levy district, the Coulter levy district.
yeah, I agree with what Supervisor Shea is saying. From the beginning, before we even talked about a new levy, Harrison County was the lead on all of this.
Right.
And that's where, in my opinion, it needs to stay. And I just don't understand how we can start approving pay for people when a levy's not established. There's no levying power for the new levy, where those funds need to come from. I think it's premature, and it probably needs to come from Harrison County.
Well, I mean, if this engineer's rate is $200 a day, then fine, that's your rate, that's his deal, but we
Well, it's
don't,
not for the engineer, it's for those other two appraisers who ride around with the engineer.
Uh-huh.
John Erickson and Larry King,
Yeah.
who he has. John Erickson's for the Pot County and Larry King's for the Harrison County. That is what
We really need to have another meeting, I think, to decide this, don't you, Linda?
okay.
I mean, on the way out the door, they're saying you're the lead. Wasn't any
Well, I think
motions.
regardless of who the lead is, both trustees,
So,
board of trustees need to approve,
Right.
since it is a common
Joint.
levy, both
I mean, I
boards.
could approve the amount. I could make a motion to approve the amount, but where's it coming from?
Well, if there's no money in there yet, if they haven't been assessed yet, then they're paid through warrants. And they'll hold on to the warrants until there is money, and when the warrants are called, then they'll get their money.
Who issues the warrants?
They should.
Yeah.
The
I
new
mean, this-
levy district.
Yeah, this whole process, from the engineering to the attorney work, everything came from Harrison County. And I think that's where it should stay, and they should be making the call on that.
Because they had a different attorney at this meeting we went to than,
Yeah,
at the other one. They had Hudson there this time. And this other outfit had been at the last, whatever, half a dozen that we went to.
Charles Becker.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Charles that was there, maybe it was, or
I don't remember his name.
it was from that firm. The guy was sitting there, but he didn't, He just took notes.
Yeah, just,
So what's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to
well,
table
what,
this.
Do nothing?
what are we
Move it on.
voting on? Just
We're not
the
voting on
amount? We're not paying them.
I don't even like doing that, because I don't want warrants being issued for things that aren't really set in stone. I mean, it's like,
we don't
surprise, new tax, pay it. Like, I don't wanna do that to people. It's not right.
We
I want
don't
those
know
people
when
that
it's gonna
bills
be
come set.
established, we don't even know if it's gonna be established. There's some, there's some federal issues in that in this
Yes.
as well,
I
so,
think that's gonna be in the court systems, probably.
yeah, so I would assume that we've kind of given Linda, our opinions on where we think things need to go, and I think she ought to go back to,
Harrison County.
All
Harrison
gets put to
County.
you, huh, Linda?
I mean, honestly, I'm happy to meet, if they wanna come meet with us and hash this out, so be it. I'm more than willing to do that. I just think that I
Well, we
don't
need
feel
to
right creating a tax on
somebody
people without
needs
knowing
to-
the parameters of it yet, so.
We need to get some legal, if it's done by parcels or ground or something, that's the first time I've ever heard that at levy and drainage districts.
Need the engineer, probably on the phone
I don't want
to,
an engineer, I want,
or legal counsel or both, to say,
Say legal, okay.
and whether there's something in state code on these shared districts as to who has the lead. I don't know. That's where you need legal counsel to say, since there are more landowners or there is a greater geographical area, then that board of trustees would take the lead. I don't know.
so the way they indicated at that meeting, our votes would be diluted.
3/5,
Right.
right?
That's what I,
So to get 3 votes, all 5 of us would have to be at a meeting. They've got 3 people on their board. We have 5. They voted to give us 3/5 of the vote.
well, no, they said that was the law or the.
Right,
rules.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So
But why don't they have to read this?
because they got 3 board members.
That's all they have. They don't have 5.
I
Okay,
don't know. So,
I think we'll
We
Move
need to
this-
discuss this
yeah.
further with them.
moving on down the line.
Not putting pressure on you, but
No.
you're the go-between, I
well,
guess.
you need to ask them if they got money and if they're gonna pay those commissioners if we approve them.
And
I'm not opposed to that.
actually, on the agenda, it's just the new levy district trustees to discuss the commissioner's rate. I'm not against the rate.
No, it's
Personally.
It's discussion and decision to set a commissioner.
Well, he's looking at this. agenda.
Yeah, this one.
Well, yeah, either way, I mean, the rate's the rate. I
Right.
just feel like we need to be a little bit further along the process before we
Right,
approve anything, in my opinion, but.
Well, since the phone's working, maybe, and they have a meeting Thursday, the idea was that you guys would approve the $20 a day, and I think it was 100 for a half a day.
200 a day.
Was-
or
200 a day, 100 for half.
Half a day, that was what the engineer, suggested. And then, they're meeting Thursday, and we're just gonna follow suit on, what we did. Now, you could probably do it the other way around if you
we've
want.
always followed suit and let them lead.
Well, if they'll go ahead and do it on Thursday, you can do it next Tuesday. But in the meantime, if you want, the engineer or legal counsel on the phone,
Well, they wanna hand it off, not really to us. I mean, it'd be handed off to Linda and you
yeah,
as a district. And all the things that lead up to this, you know.
If we make a decision-
We need the books to be balanced out and those attorneys all paid and everything.
well, they'll get paid in warrants, if,
I don't know. They got money, they got this, whatever,
There
2
is
points.
some money there already, and
There's
Well, that's what
money
they
that's,
told us.
yeah, there's money earmarked for this purpose that, and we have access right now to 2.4 of it, I think. And then I think the rest is earmarked for that actual levy structure.
Yeah, what Liz indicated to me was that they have some money and they're gonna be, since we're the Lee County, she's gonna send me some invoices. This is in
Not the
another
lead
email
county.
she
That's
sent.
the problem. We're not the lead county. They
Yeah.
are, and they need to own it and quit putting it back on this
Since we
board.
have no money, we'd have to write warrants for the, whatever invoices came in, so we don't have the money.
Where is the money now?
Harrison County,
I don't know if they draw it down from the state or what, how it's set up.
Oh,
Why, if we're just approving the rates, we can do that next Tuesday then, correct? If they pass their rate.
Well, I think there's a lot more information needs to come. I mean, is there gonna be a levy district, where, those funds that they got, is that for the construction of the levy?
Yes,
I mean, I
Okay,
think we
so
need
then
to,
it doesn't include these fees. Is that what you're saying?
kind of sound like it could go for these fees also.
I wouldn't mind having a meeting with them to
I
have.
think
some
these guys.
I think we need to.
I think these guys have to get paid.
Last,
Whether there ends up being the district or not being the district,
correct.
no matter what.
Right.
And the last
Or you
meeting,
won't get people to do it if you're gonna say, well, we're not gonna pay you, but you gotta spend a day or 2 days with the engineer and
yeah.
drive around or whatever.
the last meeting was really a, landowner
It was a
meeting.
public hearing,
Yeah,
what I understood.
And there was a lot of motions one way and the other on it, so
Motions during the public hearing?
emotions,
Oh,
emotions,
emotions.
sorry. Yeah,
Okay,
and on the way out the door, they're telling us, your lead, that ain't gonna work.
Well, if we're in the lead, I'm naming it Wagner Levy. So it's fine.
okay, we'll move on from that and maybe we'll get some more information.
Linda, thanks. Hate to have you be the go-between, but
Well, but maybe,
You can give my cell phone number if you want. They can call me if they got some problems. I'm more than happy talking
and
about
if
it.
they want to schedule, I know what your guys' schedule is, if they want to do a phone conference on Thursday when they meet.
Thursday or
I don't know.
Tuesday, whatever. I really think we need to. We need more communication.
Okay,
Thanks,
Thank
Linda.
you.
we're gonna move
Thanks
on.
for being the go-between.
Item D is Jeff Franco, Deputy Director of Conservation, and Mark Shoemaker, the Director of Conservation. Discussion decision on the job description of the ski instructor. First off, Jeff, welcome back. Brian, I think that, I put this back on the agenda because
Yes.
you had some questions and concerns about that you wanted to kind of get addressed. And then Jana, you can come on up too if you would. I think
Get in the hot seat, would you?
the board asked you to make that change in the job description to that. Did you get that done?
As other duties as assigned?
Yes.
Yes, and it
Okay.
is posted.
Okay. So Brian, the questions you had
Right.
for Jeff, you're up.
I was, we seem to be switching it from subcontractor or contractor, whatever, independent contractor. I see that as a more aggressive situation rather than a paid hourly person. I see him as going to the ski hills and going, you need a lesson, and I'm the guy.
So I watched the video from last week, and that was one of the questions that came
Yeah.
up. And so I think there was a little misunderstanding about how things have operated in the past. Actually, the way that lessons came in was through the Mount Crescent website or through full-time staff. And they were assigned, those lessons were then assigned to these independent contractors.
Okay.
The reason that we're switching to staff at this point is my understanding, based on what Jana's telling us, is that the IRS will not see these people as independent contractors, and there could be some legal hot water we could get into if we move forward
Okay.
with them as independent contractors.
Okay.
So the safest way, in addition to some liability issues, that we're gonna operate is to have them on staff, covered under our insurance. And so that's gonna be the best way to operate. It'll also allow us to operate in the same way that we have in the past as well.
All right. Liabilities?
Yep, they're covered underneath our liability insurance. If not, then they have to provide their own insurance. And of course, a W-9, the whole 9 yards. So it's easier for us to maintain their certification of being an instructor underneath our insurance. So I made sure that was added to our insurance as well.
Okay. Good.
We just don't want to see the motivation to do instructing to go down. I mean, and I kind of made that comment last week, is, when I went up there last year, brought my son up there, it was a great experience, he did perfect, they did a great job. He was able to go down the hill almost immediately after that on his own.
Yeah, the motivations really won't change. I mean,
Okay.
from their perspective, their check is just coming from a different source is all it's gonna be. I mean, instead of filling out a W-9 and being an independent contractor, they're just gonna be on staff. It's actually a nice route for them to go. So Chris, do you have any additional comments? I guess Chris was there last year.
Hold
So
on, Chris.
they're still gonna get paid per lesson. So it's not just they clock in, they get paid hourly for the whole entire day. So they're still getting paid per lesson, so there's still that motivation. They
Okay.
wanna get paid to perform lessons.
How many are we looking to get?
30 to 40 total. But
How many?
30 to 40 total.
Wow.
But they're part-time, none of them are full-time.
Yeah.
So you might have instructors that only work every single Saturday. You might
Okay.
have some instructors that work Friday evenings for the Devo classes, and then they come in Saturday afternoons.
Okay.
So you have to have a lot of them in order to meet the needs of the community.
30 to 40 ski instructors.
And there won't be that many at one time. This is gonna be as they have availability to fill in and meet the need.
Right.
And whereas maybe 30 to 40 interns that you're expecting to work X number of hours a week is gonna have a set cost of this amount, that won't be the case with these. In addition, all of our lessons cost more than what their hourly rate's going to be. So there's a net positive from the financial side on each one of those hours spent.
Okay.
Pizza and french fries. That's how you remember it.
There's, so for that.
Exactly.
Pizza.
Who sets
Steel
the,
trap. I remember that from a year ago.
who sets their pay rate?
Yeah,
Per-
the pay rate is actually based on what what they've been paid on in the past. And so what they're kind of expecting to receive, what's typical for the market as well, and then that's how we set the pay rate.
And that was said on the job description last week that you approved.
Then we're making money on it.
Yep.
Good.
Every
Okay.
hour that's spent is an hour spent in a lesson in which we're charging more than what we're paying somebody. Quite a bit more.
You comfortable with everything, Garfield?
Of course. We've had a discussion on this last week about it, so.
Chris, how do you feel about this? I mean, this is probably the biggest change for you, so I mean,
Well, big group of us had a meeting out there it was about a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And we hashed it all out and really comfortable, I think, in talking to some of the ski instructors as well. They were a little leery at first, but with some reassurance, basically with the understanding that really not a whole lot is gonna change for them, and it's actually gonna be a benefit with insurance coverage through the county. That would have been a roadblock if we would have said, hey, before you can come on as an instructor, you have to provide us with an insurance certificate. That would have been hard for maybe some of those instructors who
Yeah.
possibly aren't in a financial situation where they could do that themselves. So this takes it away from them and probably allows us to get more instructors on board.
Good. What was that rate? I didn't catch that.
$20 to $25
Okay,
an
that's
hour.
what I thought, 25.
And that'll be a scale based on their experience in years previously taught.
Okay, so let me do a hypothetical for you. If a ski instructor is going to get paid $25 for a lesson, what are we gonna charge our customers?
It's around $100 a lesson, is that right? Chris, that's where we're at.
For an hour and a half.
And that's in line, that's a market rate for a Midwest ski area lesson.
Okay.
We have not changed. We went to that model about 5 years ago, and our rates have not increased for 5 years.
I think everybody from the whole area goes to Crescent to learn how to ski before they go anywhere
And we have-
else.
We do have much cheaper lesson options for folks that can't afford a private one-on-one
Mhm.
lesson as well.
This is a private one-on-one lesson, it's not a group lesson
And that's why it's priced at $100 for an hour and a half.
for one-on-one.
Yeah.
So for handling maybe this is a conversation to have outside. If we're having a group ski lesson, let's just say we're talking about 5 and 7-year-old kids. What's the fee for them?
We have a program called Little Shredders.
Pardon me?
We have a program called Little Shredders. It's a lesson program called Little Shredders. It's going to be a 2-hour lesson, and it's $95. Includes lift tickets, rentals, and the instruction. So it's really, and it's made just for those little guys.
And that's a group.
It's a group lesson.
Yeah.
We put, that's a 4-to-1 ratio for instructors to students.
4 students, 1 instructor.
Correct. Okay. So it's not just private lessons. We have a whole plethora of options, different cost ranges to accommodate a wide variety of students.
And the first
Go ahead.
The first day you can sign up for any of that is the 1st of December.
Yeah, it's actually currently live right now, yes.
Just need to know.
Your website says 1st of December.
Oh, I know, it'll be advertised the 1st of December, but on the back, I've already turned it on.
Well, you've already got the DDO, is that what you guys call it? That's already up and
You know,
going.
I set all that already, a long time ago.
So, I mean, I don't know, just as a testimonial, I mean, my son did it and it was great.
We've got some excellent instructors.
He's never skied a day in his life, and, you know, after our lesson, he was able to go up and do it by himself without me, so.
Was that a group rate or was that a
I think we had
personalized?
No, we had a group, obviously I was there with him helping too, but, it was a group, I think there was 3 or 4 kids that were with us, they were young.
I've done them both. The testimony after the second one-on-one. I knew what I could snowball real good.
Even with the changes and going to an hourly situation for the county, we still had all of our returning instructors sign back up. No questions.
Perfect. Good.
Perfect. They're invested. They want this to grow. They are very, very passionate about teaching.
Great. That's what we want. That's good.
Okay, we already approved the job description last week, so there is no action to be taken. Brian, did you get all your questions answered?
Yeah, I really did. Yeah.
How we doing with memberships? I guess, I know that's a little different, but I'm just curious. Overall, how we doing with like, annual ski passes and things like that? Are we doing pretty good
We're
there?
ahead of schedule by a healthy margin over last year's.
Good. Oh, good.
And I really wanted Garfield, that you answered the questions. I want to make sure we were covered.
I think it's better to be underneath the Pike County, the liability, that way we don't have to track 30-something different instructors, whether they have insurance today, they have insurance tomorrow, they don't have insurance tomorrow, so it's an easier tracking method, and it doesn't change our premiums at all by having part of our insurance, so we're covered. So
And we can
someone-
make sure too, they all go through the same background checks because they're working with children. We want to make sure, you know, there's child protective service checks that are done. And so we'll be taking care of all of that.
Yep.
It's the same as any other employee.
I think for memberships, October 1st, there was a big push for the early bird discounts, and that went all the way through October. And I think, I don't know the exact numbers, but we were about 40% ahead of where we were last year
That's
for
great.
memberships. And there's a big push last Friday and all of this week for Good Friday, or Black Friday, not Good Friday. That's next year. We'll have that sale too, probably. We'll see. We'll see what the snow does. But Black Friday and then Cyber Week, Cyber Monday and Cyber Week. So we're getting good sales this week too, so.
Awesome. Well, good job.
All right.
Excited for this season. It's gonna be fun. My kid's gonna be going up there again. so.
Cold weather.
Right up there, it's snowing right
Is
now.
it?
Yeah, it's getting there.
It's actually
Snowing fast, but
It's actually sticking out there at Crescent when I left.
Are you blowing today or tonight?
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow.
Tonight. Tomorrow night.
Moving on.
Thanks,
Next up,
everybody.
guys.
I appreciate you coming in for that.
Next up, we still have Jeff Franco and John Lemrick. This is discussion decision to approve the job description of the marketing coordinator seasonal intern. We also have with us Mark Shoemaker, and we have Craig Carlson with us. If we have any questions, we can make sure we keep those in mind too. So Jan and Jeff, you're up.
So the intention, the short-term intention of this position is to be promoting the ski hill.
I guess I'll do just a few talking points here that I wrote down. The county uses interns to offset heavy workloads very frequently. Conservation is one of the departments that uses interns to offset those heavy workloads. Typically, we'll use those interns in the summertime when we have higher visitation, when there's more work to be done on the ground, when our educational programs are ramping up. We've added a different component to what the Conservation Department is doing right now, and that is also some winter season work. And this is adding a big spike to the workload. And so that's kind of the genesis of this position was really, all right, we've got a spike in our workload that's coming up. We're also running a business. A marketing component to a business, especially if we want this to be as successful as it can be, is very important. Our current staff, because of the spike in the workload, are going to be hard pressed to handle the amount of work that we're asking this person to do. When you look at it, you're adding about 40% to somebody's week. That's a fair amount of extra work. Plus, it's going to be evening and weekend work. Another reason for this position here. And I kind of confirmed that with talking with Kylie, talking with Craig a little bit, that, you know, they've got a 40-hour work week already, and then some oftentimes. To add another 40% onto that is going to be asking a lot of anybody. Plus, it's a critical piece of the puzzle here. In the past, Chris Andrew was able to do this work, but I think what he would also agree, because of all of his other duties, at a bare minimum level. I mean, he would maybe get one post out a day, something like that, to snap a picture and get it on there. We want to be doing more than that to make this successful. In addition, when you look at what other Midwestern ski areas are doing, they're marketing more aggressively. This position is not going to get us to their level of marketing, but it's a nice entry point for the Potawatomi County to begin marketing Mount Crescent at. We can grow it from here if we see their success. If there's financial concerns, I mean, when we look at this, I think we've got a marketing budget that can absorb this, but also, if you do the math on this, you run $15 an hour is what we're proposing in that range. 15 hours a week. For the season, you're going to be running about $2,500 for the season. That works out to about 40 extra individual skier visits per year, per season. That shouldn't be difficult for this person to obtain. And so for all of those reasons, we're thinking this is going to be a nice addition to really boost things at Mount Crescent, to boost our online presence, keep us kind of in the front minds of people, especially in times when it's not snowing or we don't have snow in people's backyards. We can have somebody posting things and keep this in the forefront of people's minds. Hey, there is snow at Mount Crescent. We can do more than what we've been doing in the past with this. And so that's why we feel this position is a nice addition to what we're going to be doing this year that we haven't had in the past.
One of my thoughts were Greg Carlson.
Sure.
That was one of my first thoughts, okay? I want to see him utilized as much as possible. His position is crucial. So, talk to me about one way or the other.
Sure.
Versus.
I think having Craig involved in this is going to be important. But I think his role, you know, first of all, he's got 40 hours a week already. Mm-hmm. And if we want to add anything additional to that, especially evening and weekend work, he's got a family. I don't think we want to tax him too hard. He's putting in his time already. However, we can still run some things through him. I think he's going to be a great opportunity to kind of piggyback, to channel some things through, to hit things from a different angle. When I think about this as well, I see this as intern level work, not Craig Carlson level work. This is going to be on the hill, taking pictures, doing social media posts, keeping that presence up in front. Craig should probably be operating at a level where he's crafting the message for the county as a whole. And this fits into that, maybe not at the level of detail that we're going to have this person do.
So when you talk about coordinating with Craig, who's going to do that?
It'd probably go through this intern and Kylie, and I'm sure there's other conservation staff that would assist with this. And it would just be kind of pushing things to him, and he can push stuff out. He can give feedback. If there's a bigger project that we want to do, that coordination would take place at that level as well.
Comments, Greg?
I'm willing to assist in any way that I can. I don't think it's my place to tell them specifically how to use me, but or the PR position, but certainly, you know, in the brief conversation I had with Jeff this morning, we had discussed even paid advertisements, that kind of thing, but certainly need to go through the public relations office and not an intern to kind of design that level of content. As far as the social media stuff, there are certainly opportunities for me to offer advice and even contribute to some of those initiatives. But those conversations have been pretty elementary to this point. But like I said, certainly willing to assist in any way that I can to help the county and obviously the Conservation Department achieve their goals. So.
And you're saying the total you think is gonna be how much, 2,500?
Well, if we run an 8-week season, $15 an hour, 15 hours a week, yeah, it'd be around $2,500. And when that works out, if that works out to 40 additional skier visits, if we up our marketing game, that's something we could accomplish in a couple of weeks. Offset the costs.
I just want to make sure Craig has a level of oversight in this. I'm not necessarily saying that he's got to be their boss, but I just feel like I don't know how to put this into words, but I just feel like he needs to have involvement so that he can set boundaries and be like, listen, no, I'm taking this one.
Yeah.
This is my role. This is your role. And then when he needs to come sprinkle his ideas in, he can do that. I guess, and I don't know the right way to do that because this employee is going to kind of be conservations, right? So how do you do that between departments?
We've been using Craig in that fashion right now.
Sure.
With the message that we're trying to get out with conservation and any press releases and media events that we have. We definitely want Craig to be there, and he's been a huge help with conservation on that aspect, getting our message out too. So I think he will definitely be involved with this whole process.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is I want to be able to give him the authority to say time out if he needs to. That's all I'm saying.
And I think also Kylie Gumpert, our promotions and outreach coordinator for the Conservation Department, works pretty closely with Craig on a lot.
Sure.
She'll probably be the first filter.
Okay.
But she's also in touch with Craig. She's kind of that go-between on this particular project. And she'll have a strong idea of what the county wants to get out, meaning what Craig wants to see. And so when she has questions, she'll be able to shoot that up, have that quick conversation. But, she'll really be managing the day-to-day stuff, but it's gonna be with the direction of Craig at a much higher level.
I feel more comfortable with that. Mark, you got anything to add?
No, we want to kind of fashion this as an intern type program too. We do internships in a lot of our other areas. And I think we've been pretty successful with that. A lot of kids have come through our program and a lot of kids have moved on to full-time positions across the country. So it's a very successful model that we have, and it's been something that we've been thinking about for the past 10 years of trying to do an internship program with the social media marketing aspect to get some young kids in that arena too, so.
Well, you're talking like a college type intern? So who's gonna have that's kind of where I'm going, is Craig gonna have the dialogue with the college and say like, yep, he met these marks, or this person met these marks and send them back to the school, or how's that work?
If the person that applies for this and gets that position, if that's what they're getting this position for college credit or for college experience, I think that is definitely something that Craig and Kylie could kind of monitor and make sure they're meeting their benchmarks.
Sure. Okay.
If that makes sense.
I just got one more question for you, Mark. Now, we've got 2 dedicated employees sitting here with Pot County shirts on. Where's yours? Oh, I can't see that. That ain't got the, oh, okay, all right.
That's what I got, so.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve this.
I'll second it. I just, like I said, I guess for discussion, I just want to make sure that Craig has, some level of oversight here that he can, if he needs to push the pause button or something, he can do that. Obviously in conjunction with you and everyone else, but I don't want the board to be micromanaging marketing, because we clearly don't know what the hell we're doing. So that's why we have a PR person, and I think we just need to make sure we're using that.
Make it successful this year.
Well, then I would hope that at the end, you guys would get back and evaluate the position and refine it, or say, well, we're gonna try a different type of role or different communications or whatever it may be.
All of our interns receive individual personnel reviews from their supervisor, but that allows us to really take a hard look at this position and understand, did we experience success? Were they successful? Do we need to change things? So we do that analysis on every intern that we have.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope it's really successful. I mean, I think we have some amazing opportunity up there in positions like this.
Too.
If we do it right, it could pay off big time for the county, so.
All we need is cold weather. Please, come on.
Cold. Okay.
Freeze.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion for Jana, Jeff, Chris, Mark, Craig, Garfield? All in favor signify by saying yeah. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thanks all you guys.
All right.
Let's make this successful.
You were good in the marketing budget for that.
Sorry, Mark, I should have seen your shirt earlier.
Check your eyes, I guess.
Get a new
All right,
prescription.
next up, we have public comment. Did anybody sign our sheet? Mr. Coleman?
Nope.
All right. Moving on.
Garfield, thanks for being in
We're
here.
gonna go into closed session pursuant to Iowa Code 21.5, parent 1, parent 9.